Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined by Phil for a very special discussion. This is, of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi, part 4, but part 4 now, which is insane to think about how quickly it's going. And we're going to go through the episode with you. We don't have Dave with us tonight. He's packing for a very lovely time away, which is well deserved. I want him on here after doing that, but I know he has seen it. But before we get into any of this stuff, any of the socials, Phil, how are we doing tonight?
Even? Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Fresh off a second watch of this episode because it does need more than one viewing.
No, 100 review, and obviously we couldn't get you on last week, but we've got you on this week, which is the more important thing. I'm going to chat just before. You were around the corner from me, and I didn't really clock it until I was like, oh yeah, like Dave, Phil would have been there. Sorry, but we also have a Carl in the comments. Good evening, Carl, as always. Thank you for the tweet yesterday, by the way, covering a film for me. But as always, folks, this is a spoiler discussion. This is your final spoiler warning. We will be talking all things part 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We'll also be hypothecating about parts 5 and 6, maybe. So maybe we'll say something that comes true, because none of my predictions from last week came true. There was no Qui-Gon Jinn. Don't have a problem with that, by the way. We'll get to that. He will be coming at some point. But as always, comment your thoughts below, all your spoilers, your thoughts, your theories, everything in between. And if you're a fan of Obi-Wan, if you're a fan of Star Wars, stick around, hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot more stuff coming. Cassian for a start, 12 episodes this year. We've got Bad Batch, we've got so many other things. And we've just come off the back of a really fun Star Wars month with some really great people involved. So maybe there'll be some more Star Wars stuff that even I don't know about coming soon. So as always, please do that. It does mean a lot to us. And if you are new to us, if you're new to the channel, the best way to find out about our videos is having us on social media. That is Twitter and now Instagram, cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. And we've now moved to Redbubble, which you can get a link in that description below. So if you're curious about them, you can check all them out. Instagram, get used to it. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing for doing videos on. But maybe when we're at events and stuff, we'll post more. Who knows? So do follow us with all of that stuff. But Phil, I really want to put you on the spot before we actually get into this episode. Obviously, we didn't have one last week, and I felt bad. I think I said it after. I didn't get to read out your summary. Just very quickly, your thoughts on the ending. Just Vader Kenobi, where it left him with the burnt arm. Just
God, it was everything I've ever hoped for and more. I think with what we have coming in today's episode, plus the next couple, we'll get Obi-Wan back to where he was prior to all this. We'll get into that in a bit because he does, but Vader just being as petty and as unhinged as he can be, going, fine, you made me like this, so guess what? Now you're going to suffer exactly the same fate I did. And I was speaking
like poetry, it rhymes.
It is. I was speaking to my dad just before I came on here, because we watched the episode together before I jumped on. And speaking of episodes 4, 5, and 6, I adored Vader, and that's why he became my favorite villain. But you always got a sense afterwards it could have been something more. Vader had the potential to be something that was a bit more violent, and this is the unhinged, this is Vader at peak Vader, and it's just that was ultimate of, I have waited for this moment. You put me through hell. You disfigured me. You should have killed me when I had the chance, because you didn't. Now I'm going to do to you what you did to me. And it was just, it was perfect.
No, I'm glad you said that, because it was. It's been not a fun week per se. I've been under the weather for a few days, but I'm here tonight. I'm at a gig tomorrow, which is even weirder. But let's talk about this. I mean, I need to get my own back to tank. But one of the funny things this week was, I think I said it last week, we're going to get Qui-Gon. This is going to be the episode of the flashbacks with the character elements. We're going to get like Obi-Wan in the back to tank. We did get him in the back to tank for about 10 seconds, which I love. And I'm going to say this really quickly. When he went into the back to tank, I had a bit of a laugh, because obviously we know what a back to tank is. We know it is used, but because we've just come off the back of a show that's had like its main actor in one for half of it, and the credit scene was someone else in it, I was kind of worried that the back to tank is going to become this new flashback story mode thing. And I'm really glad today we didn't have that, but we got an actual really underrated scene that I haven't seen anyone speaking about yet, which was Obi-Wan and Vader sensing each other in the back to tanks. Now that's a weird thing to say out loud. That's a very weird thing now I've said that out loud to think about. But I just loved the concept that Vader couldn't because it's it's to heal you, almost meditation with itself, not just physically but mentally as well, I guess. And
Yeah,
I love this concept that neither of them could do it. Now, whether it's a connection via the Force, whether it's what just happened, they're still processing. I just loved, and even like the way you see the no hand on Anakin, and then you'd get obviously Obi-Wan with his hands and everything. I just loved that opening scene, how it played out, because I think again, if you have people in a back tank, that's a potential something that could become very repetitive that shouldn't need to be. And I'm glad they just didn't do flashbacks, because I'm going to say as well, that would have been the most likely scenario for any Clone Wars flashbacks or any other stuff. So how do you think of that? Because that's a really big thing for me of this.
So where you have Vader's meditation chamber in the comics, it's more he then surrounds himself in the dark side of the Force. When you see him in that, you see his arms and his limbs basically replaced with dark side energy. It's kind of like a phantom limb at this point. Vader has not been able to sense Obi-Wan since episode 3 because he shut himself off from the Force. Obi-Wan has gone in complete hiding, complete lockdown, as it were, in his own abilities, his own intuition. He's cut himself off because he knows he needs to protect Luke. This is the first time he's let himself be open to the Force in, 10 years. The fact that Vader now knows that Obi-Wan exists and has that connection, he's then basically toying with him. Whereas Obi-Wan is now fearful, which for a Jedi is not what he wants. But to have that connection, you can see Vader basically relishing the fact that he knows that Kenobi is out there and he will get his prize and his revenge basically very soon.
It's a really good point, that as well, and I think it's what you said as well. It's that dark. It's the contrast of the two of them. That their paths couldn't be any more different, yet so similar. Ultimately, they're both broken in their own regards. Just very different meanings of it. And I think if I'm going to get into this, I mean, not giving my overall thoughts on the episode, obviously, I guess we're saying this was a shorter episode, 34 minutes, the shortest episode of the series so far, maybe. I think episode 2 was about 40-ish, but when, you load up the Disney Plus loading time, I'm going to say we got Lola on the, I don't know is there an official name? When the Star Wars Disney Plus show starts, you get the metallic, it's like a metallic toy, isn't it? Like a bauble
the
decoration.
very Marvel-esque opening
yes.
bit. Yes. Yeah.
We had Lola, we had Ned B, and I'm pretty sure there was someone else we've seen in Kenobi that jumped on there. But I just wanted to say that, because I was like, hold on, I was like, have I already seen this? I don't know if I have. And gets into the episode, you think, bloody hell, Hasbro, we're now going to get the red dot variant of Lola as well, which we'll get to that at the end.
Too right. Which felt on that point, I was having a discussion with my girlfriend earlier today when we were watching the episode. She says, a shame it's only 34 minutes. Why aren't they consistent? So we have to remember, actually, I quite like the fact they're not consistent. The story and the episode is as long as it needs to be. It either will be shorter or longer, depending on how long it takes to, because there is no restriction on it must be 35 minutes, let's say. It's either you don't have to meet that or you have to cut things out of it to kind of come back to it. You're not adding any filler, you're not taking away from the story, it's just letting it be what it is. I think Deborah Chow has that down pat from her experience on both The Mandalorian and then Book of Boba Fett, and her discussions with Favreau and Filoni, going from a very strict formatted show with Filoni when it comes to Rebels and to Clone Wars to now this kind of freeform structure with the live action shows, which of course Marvel has then taken on board with its own approach to TV shows as well. I mean, for example, in this Marvel debut today, we've also had Moon Knight of late again. Episodes between 28 and 55 minutes where you just get the story. And that's why I like that. It doesn't shove anything it doesn't need to, but doesn't take away anything either. It's just how it needs to be.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to say as well, actually, because I think that's one of the really underrated points of streaming services. I don't know if you watch Stranger Things. But
I haven't, but that's because I'm not a huge fan, but go on.
That's fine. But like the new series, the big complaint was, why are they all over an hour long? Like an hour, some are hour 10, some hour and a half. The fly is going to be 220. And I'm just kind of sat there saying, well, obviously I've seen volume 1. I'm like, yeah, like the running times are perfect. It works. And that is the beauty of streaming services, that you aren't restricted to a broadcast. When you're a broadcast, you're in America, you get 42 minutes of, 42 minutes for a 1 hour drama, because 18 minutes of adverts. You get 21 minutes if it's a sitcom. The UK, you get, is it 26 and 52? Because obviously we have less ad breaks and stuff. And you look at so many great shows, you get filler episodes because they would order complete seasons. And that's been one of the really, I think, high points of just streaming as a whole, is the variation of running length. And I think in this series, above any, And I don't think what people take into account is that sometimes it can be a budgetary thing. You might choose. I mean, yes, they get a whole series total budget, and probably for Kenobi, it's probably not as episodic as maybe the budget is on like Mando, where each episode is differently. This is essentially one like coherent story. Where I feel it works in its favor is when you get a short one like today. That 5-10 minutes you might save is going to get added on to a chunkier episode where it's needed the longer runtime. And that in-house just makes it so much easier for everyone to work on it, for the script writers, for the production teams. And again, when they're making the show episodic or weekly, they're making this as a series. You don't want to just have a random cliffhanger and say, let's say the whole length of Obi-Wan's 3 hours long. You don't have to be like, we must have a cliffhanger like at minute 32, irrelevant of where we are. And they don't, and it works in its favor so well. And kind of like stemming off that with today's one, I mean, you kind of said this. We were playing the schedules. Like, hold on, like they just go straight to the fortress. I mean, I love the name for it. I know it was from Fallen Order, but the formal name is it Fortress Inquisitorius? Like, it's. I don't know why it doesn't rhyme, but it does rhyme. Yeah, and like when they have that character randomly say Inquisitorius Fortress or whatever, I was like, they've just made him say it because they want to say it because it's so cool and silly at the same time. And it's like. It's it's a pyramid that's like half underground, and I mean, listen, if you played Fallen Order like us, you'll be familiar maybe with it. Now, I don't remember it ever being in Rebels, which I don't think was it?
No.
Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I need to have X, Y, and Z filled out, blanked, or have it flooded. Maybe that will happen in episode 6. Who knows? But I mean, what do you think? Just going straight into it, we didn't have Kenobi resting, we didn't have him meditating. I don't want to keep saying Qui-Gon Jinn. I'll tell you why I keep talking about Qui-Gon Jinn, and you'll be very proud of him. I don't know if I actually text this to you and Dave. So for everyone at home, we always have a group chat for about 6-7 years now. For the first ever time, I've started reading a Star Wars book, and it's this.
Hey, Master and Apprentice. Excellent. Good lad.
I bought this in Chicago in 2019 Celebration.
Yeah.
I've not read it in 3... I mean, it was in the garage. I had to dig it out of the garage. I don't mean to like sound horrible. You know my stance to the Star Wars books. My struggle is that I've always seen Star Wars as a visual media. I've always really struggled to get into the pages. But the hype for this show, I was just there like, I need to know as much about Obi-Wan as possible now. Like, I need to read the book. I need to buy the book. Well, I need to buy the other book, which is this one, which will be read next. I'm like advertising for free now. And so I've been on an Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn hype. So I keep talking about Qui-Gon because I'm like a gazillion % certain that he's going to be turning up. We've got a comment from Carl. Qui-Gon Jinn is 100% turning up and great. But Carl's read it. Carl, I'm on.
I need to. It's been on my shelf for a little bit.
Honestly, no joke. I started reading it on the train at the weekend, and I'm like halfway through already, and that's just 2 trips. But I'm driving tomorrow to Liverpool, so I can't finish it. But yeah, 100%, Carl. Qui-Gon's turning up, and actually, I'll pose this question to you, Phil, and to you, maybe Carl as well. Are you glad he didn't show up this week? Yes. Like you'd think on paper, this is the week for him to show up.
100%. No, 100%.
But actually,
I don't want him to show up until episode 6.
Episode 6, and that's where I was kind of leaning towards, because where last week when I was like, yeah, we're going to get Qui-Gon, we're going to get speech, we're going to get the Rocky Marathon, whereas now we haven't had it, and I'm, you know me, I'm fine with that. Like I know, I'm not a writer on the show, so it shouldn't matter. And I'm also sat there saying like, okay, we haven't had it this week, so it will be to me, it's a when, not if now, especially with Liam Neeson signing on for the animated series, and also a shout out for Liam Neeson's 70th birthday yesterday. But again, just reading this book has been incredible, and I've never really been into the Star Wars books, but now I'm in. But probably prequel stuff mainly still. But yeah, sorry, tangent off. Honestly, do you know what the thing with Liam Neeson is? He's always looked old, but never old. He's always looked old and young at the same time. Like he's just never aged. He's like almost like a sort of Samuel Jackson. Yeah, and I think it's because he must have actually been like. I mean, he obviously is in his 40s and played Qui-Gon, but Qui-Gon's a bloke really in his late 50s, isn't he? Yeah. Like, really. And it's like, he was actually a lot younger. And I guess it's like Ewan, isn't it? Ewan was, like 33 when he filmed Revenge of the Sith, when Obi-Wan's probably meant to be in his 40s. But yeah, it's a really interesting tangent, sorry. But just to get back to this episode. Talk us through the Inquisitorius Fortress. Sorry, I'm going to keep making terrible jokes. I can't help. It's such a fantastic but silly name. I love it so much. Yeah. Even just the logistics of building glass walls for an underground water base. Again, not my place. I'm not nitpicking. I'm just having fun.
You would have thought they would have learned from earlier Happenstance. If you played Fallen Order, I mean, I can say spoiler alert, but at this point, compared to when
It's been out years, it's fine.
yes, because unfortunately, it would have been out a couple of days, and we had it spoiled, the ending spoiled for us as we were going live. I should never ever forget that moment. That was a pure George Face of Thunder look from that one. Yeah, if you haven't played Fallen Order, spoiler alert, it does get flooded at that particular point. You would have thought they learned their lessons from it. It's, it's cool.
Yeah,
it works, but you would have thought they learned.
This is one of my only worries of this series, and this is, I guess, more about Reva. I mean, we'll talk about it a lot more. I kind of said this at the beginning that I really hope she isn't like Triller. And by that, I mean, if you've played Fallen Order, you'll know Triller's story arc and how her arc ends with Vader. And I was just a bit worried that we're going to get this story where we're going to have this person who was never really evil being this Inquisitor, and it's about the Jedi's journey to turn us the lights. Now, I still don't think we're going to get that, or if we do, it's not going to be as sort of black and white as it is with Triller.
No, I don't think so. I think still don't think get Vader getting pissed off, hacking her head off, done, or the Grand Inquisitor going, or she's going to turn. Me? Yeah, I'm going to backstab you.
I think what happens. I mean, we'll get to the end of the episode and discuss where everything goes, but I think Reva's fate is going to be with Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, not Kenobi, which I'm kind of glad by. But we'll get into that, because that, again, my only background, and listen, I'll say this as well, there'll be millions of people watching the show that have never played. I mean, I watch this with my dad every Wednesday. I watch it in the morning, and then I watch it with my dad in the evening when he finishes work. I'm not going to say to him, well, there was this game called Fallen Order. I'm not going to do that. So I also understand it's that almost like pyramid thing. Films at the top, live action films, live action shows, animated shows. Then it's like video games, comic. It's like the hierarchy of what's more important. We've got Dave in the comments. Hi, gents. Can I say how much I love this little rescue mission episode? Death Star escape. Love the sneaking up 100 coats. Stupid, but loved it. No, I love that moment too. It's made me laugh both times. Going back to the Inquisitor base. I mean, talk me through. I don't want to keep harping on Qui-Gon Jinn, but did you love the fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi was swimming?
Oh god, yeah, that's a lovely little callback for episode 1 there. You gotta love it.
It was so random. I was like, hold on, are we gonna have has he got the same breathing apparatus? Obviously, it's not. I don't know if it's the exact same or if it's slightly altered now. But I was just we're getting Kenobi swimming. This is fantastic. This wasn't on my to-do list, but it's kind of helped make my day.
It's a little Easter egg that doesn't get mentioned. It's one of those beautiful little things where it's there. If you like it, you like it. If you don't care about it, you're not going to notice it. It's a nice little, tiny little nod. Yeah. As is and as well the tomb.
And we'll get to the tomb. And last plug of this book, I promise you. That Obi-Wan does know how to swim by the time the book starts, which made me chuckle on the train. I was like, because we see him swimming in Phantom Menace. But let's talk about the base. I mean, let's actually go to. Oh my god, have I forgotten Indira Familiar's name? Dear me, Tila. That's terrible. Tala. There we go. Yeah. It's because I kept saying Triller. I've gone. Obviously, we've got Tala breaking in with the Imperial stuff, which is very cool. Yep. Very Rogue One-esque.
Yes.
I know Dave's put Death Star Escape there, but a lot of I really love, and I guess Star Wars can do espionage well. It's always really cool when you see them doing that sort of thing.
Well, obviously, the Death Star escape part from Obi-Wan doing the little just force noise down the end.
Yes, I didn't even clock that till now. Actually, we've got a really good comment. There's a good comment from Carl. My only nitpick is they're making him completely incompetent, escaping with the kid in the coat again, not tap. This is all run panic. Yes, we'll get to that at the end, Carl, because I too understand that logic, and I think it's the first time we've seen that logic that I always thought was stuck in the animated stuff that's becoming live action. But we'll get to that at the end. It's a very good point, actually, and a good one to make, especially at an Inquisitor's base. But I guess this makes sense with even this thing. How do you feel of the whole security thing? Tala being an officer that can just turn up, get in, have a chat. I don't have a problem with it per se, but it just sort of hit that nail on the head, especially for Carl. It does make them look incompetent, especially how, again, not to nitpick for me personally, but if an officer has just disappeared off her planet, rocked up at the Inquisitor's base, would she not?
That's where you have Third Sister versus the run-of-the-mill Imperials. The run-of-the-mill Imperials like with any large organization, any film, any show or book, as you want, it gets diluted. All the security gets diluted. By the end of the day, you have basically people being brought in left, right, and center who are not. Remember, these are not clones. These are not highly efficient, highly trained beings. These are just humans dragged
Sheep.
off of planets who want to serve the Empire for many, many different reasons. But the bottom line, most of it, because it's a reliable source of income, and they like that feeling of power. That's if you go back to looking at the history of the Second World War, especially looking at how the Nazis came into power, it was people who joined the stormtroopers and the SS were people who basically just wanted their own feeling of power and their own sense of purpose. And when you have people who have spies who work their way in, it's because they take advantage of all the nooks and crannies and all the little gaps and chinks in the armor. So when you have a head of security who's there trying to do his job, he loves his job. He loves the power from it. He's on a complete ego trip by going, I am in charge here. I will tell you what to do. As soon as she pulls rank on him, he's concerned that he's going to lose his job, his security, and his life. So he then is under the impression of, well, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, and I do not want to get in trouble, so I'm just going to let her through and let someone else take the fall, let someone else take the consequences. When you have people to answer for and answer to, you end up with that level of parity between the ruling and under classes and the officers there. When you have people like the clones, which is they are all there to do one job and they respect each other, they know that the position is being given out of rank and out of discipline and out of experience versus you run the mill, people get complacent. And this is how this is. It's someone who doesn't want to lose his job, doesn't want to piss off the Grand Inquisitor, because as soon as she mentioned his name, completely turns like, that's the red lightsaber in my back. I don't particularly want that. Fine, you go right ahead. So I get the look at it, but I kind of look at it from a different perspective of this is someone who just doesn't want to lose their life because they let someone through the front door. And that's kind of how I at least view it.
No, I feel that as well, especially with to be fair, the comparison to World War II is really good because we know that obviously literally stormtroopers were a thing in World War II, and we know that a lot of Lucas's original Star Wars stuff was not just inspired by World War II, but also the Vietnam War and so many current things. Star Wars has always been political, folks. Deal with it.
Yeah.
And we've got a bit of a comment. We have Matt in the comments. Lovely. Love the Ep series. Been phenomenal. Agree with Carl. He seems to be able to escape quite easy, which detracts from mistakes a bit. And Reva's right. No, I agree with that as well. Oh, the escape. Yeah. Well, the coat thing does make me laugh. But yeah, let's. We've got a comment from Dave. And let's talk. I know we're sort of jumping ahead, but with this episode, it's so quick. It's so short. Again, as you said, Phil, there's not a minute wasted. Let's talk about the tomb.
Yes.
Let's talk about Jurassic World Dominion. I'm joking. The reviews on the channel, I'll plug it, but it's a terrible film. Don't watch it. When we went down to that dungeon, well, the tomb, sorry, you saw the yellow. It's literally dressed up all the yellow stones with just like dead Jedi in there. I didn't clock the first one was the Doug from Clone Wars. Now you remember his name. I don't. I know him as the old geezer from Ahsoka's arc.
Yeah, Terra Sanube.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this. That sounds so sadistic. But we know that the Inquisitor, in this series, not just aside of us knowing as fans and stuff, in this series, they said we don't know what they do with the Force sensitive children or people. And the key word was them saying people, because a lot of people we see in the tomb aren't Jedi. They're not younglings. Well, one is, but they look like normal people who were just there in that tomb. And it's quite devastating, really, when you really think about it. And again, with the location. Yes, we've seen in a Fallen Order, but we didn't go to the basement. We didn't go to all that stuff, and that's what kind of makes it quite interesting as the location.
We didn't know it was in the Mustafar system either.
No, and that's what I clocked on my second video. I was like, hold on, it's a moon in the Mustafar system, and they called it Vader's system, which is great. Like, he rules this little land that the Empire's given him. Probably just a quick jump away, a couple of minutes to Ubering from Mustafar to the moon. Dave, the dead youngling was one of the disturbing things I've seen in Star Wars, and this is where the repeat views come from. Obviously, you've got the juxtaposition of the editing between Tala being potentially in trouble and Kenobi discovering and Leia as well, who we'll get to. But when you see the youngling, if you actually watch Ewan McGregor's face, and I think Ewan McGregor in this series has been outstanding. This has been his best Kenobi performance. Like, take the memes away, his performance and commitment to this series has been remarkable. And I'm actually surprised he's been allowed to act as much as he has. That's not meant as a diss at the production. I think it's just down to Ewan as an actor and coming back to this property. The moment of horror when he sees it and how he reacts, and I did, again, not sound horrible, I was looking, is there any lightsaber marks or any slashes? None of that. And that's what kind of makes it scary for me, is we don't know how they die. Are they killed and chucked in there? Or are they chucked in there to then die and get fossilized? It's a really creepy concept. But what do you sort of think of that? That whole sort of, it's almost like a little mini horror show.
It's spine chilling. And what you may not have clocked is the room afterwards, which is where the Inquisitors have their little briefing hall. Around the edge, it's just lightsabers. It's just full of them around the edge. So when you have it on that red background, there's little objects, those are lightsabers around the edge. So all these Jedi have been killed, the lightsabers have been taken and put on display. Those are trophies. This is a tomb as such. This is a trophy cabinet. That's what makes it even more disturbing. It's a trophy cabinet.
And it kind of works. Like, of all the yes, okay, I love Vader's castle, the design of it. I'm very jealous that Dave got that Lego all those years ago. It's probably off tons now. Just the whole concept that it's where and there might have been dozens more rooms of it. We'll never know. Like, they just walk down there. Like, as you said, it's a trophy cabinet, and it's a really fascinating concept to see inside. And it's actually quite not just adult for Star Wars, but I know this show is aimed at I don't want to say older Star Wars, that sounds really rude, but this show inherently isn't designed for younger viewers as much as other Star Wars shows would be.
It's not Rebels. This is the more mature audience.
Yeah, and I guess because they know that this show in production, essentially, a lot of it is down to the people that grew up with the prequels or the people that 180 on them.
It has to be when you're torturing a 10-year-old.
Yeah. And let's talk the Leia stuff, because I don't say I really enjoyed this. How do I phrase that better to enjoy it in the
you don't need to, because
I'd
say exactly, I really enjoyed it, because what I really loved was if you go from to The Force Awakens with Kylo Ren and his interaction with Rey, where he looks into her mind and she looks back into his, we know that Leia has Force powers. You know that she's Force sensitive, eventually will have her own training, make her own lightsaber. You know what's in her future. So when you have the third sister going, right, I have this power, I know exactly what I want, you don't just say a damn word, I'm going to take it from you. And she's like, and that's Leia's power coming through. But then you also then have third sister who knows what she wants, is on the vendetta she's on for whatever reason, which I think is going to be a little copy, cut and paste from Triller. I do get it, I understand, but I don't care at this point, to be honest. I think as long as it's written well, as long as it has a good reason behind it, then I'm okay with that. What I like, though, is the playing off there between herself and Leia, and the fact that she thinks she's giving Leia the softer option first before the torture of going, look, I have tried to be nice, and now I'm not. It's like, you're torturing a 10-year-old. Nothing about this is nice. What's worse, actually, is the stormtroopers who go along with it. That's the creepier part. That's the... Oof. And by the way, can we also talk about Purge troopers being in this as well? We haven't mentioned this yet, but that's really cool. Again, Fallen Order being put right into the live action here.
And they're using the Death Trooper's gun, because I recognise that sound effect.
Oh, God, yeah.
Very quick comment by Cole. There's not only lightsabers, but the helmets the young Jedi wear. Yes, and someone did a photo that I don't know if I missed it. There's like a shelf with the lightsabers on, which probably Carl's put. Someone joked saying, "I'm sure as hell a bet that Jedi's walking sticks there." You know, the one. I always
Sanube, yeah,
that's the one. God, I wonder who else is there. Like, I know Jocasta Nu's been killed in New Canon, but I'd be so curious to know like who's in their little hall of dead Jedi.
I'd spotted Quinlan Voss, but I haven't. But there is one of the ones from the council from episode 1, I think, is in there as well.
And, oh God, can you imagine if Yaddle finally turns up? Or what's the one with the big neck? The most impractical.
Yarrow Poof.
Yes, lob a lightsaber at his neck. He'll never protect himself. He's finished.
Yarrow Poof. I think it's like he's in the Old Republic, High Republic, which is kind of cool. He does get name dropped.
Makes sense. Like, he's ancient. And then
Yes.
according to the whole pizza news from oh god, not Family Guy. What's the other one? The puppet one.
Robot Chicken.
That's the one. Robot Chicken.
Yes.
Robot Chicken is a lot of Star Wars. Let's get some more. And this, sorry to sidetrack, but the whole these Lego specials they keep doing, which the first one was actually really funny, and it was the first time they've been able to mock Star Wars as a prop since they owned it. More of that, please. We know we're getting summer special. But if you can make those off, slightly off. The one thing I miss a lot of Star Wars is not just George Lucas, but you know how George Lucas was so fundamentally in love with people mocking it, the concept of parody, all that sort of stuff. That's the little things I'm missing, and I think as they not get older, as the project universe we're doing, Mando, I think it makes it easier for them to crack fun to do those smaller projects on the side. They're a little bit funner. But yeah, let's bring it back. Let's talk Leia. I mean, Dave's loving the performance of Vivian Lara Blair's Leia. More Americanized Leia every week. This is it. I see her as Princess. I don't see this as a young actress pretending to be a character. I see this as the character. This is her. This is how she would speak. This is the dialogue she would have. This is the performance.
You would like to think that if Carrie was still here, she would take her under her wing.
Yeah, and this is what everyone spoke about. I don't know if I think did Billy Lord do a photo with her at Celebration? I can't remember. I need to double check. But if Carrie Fisher was around, Fullbow should absolutely love it. She'd love her as well. And it's it's such a fantastic performance, and again something that no one really saw coming for the series. I know that the writer says no one predicted it. There was a leak like a year ago that no one believed. I think it was Jordan Mason leaked it, who's actually a really good follow, really good guy. But yeah, the whole torture sequence, and it's mentioned like I'm Princess of Alderaan, and it's the mind games as well. When she goes, "I'll tell you everything if you let me tell my dad first." Like it's just a great scene. But the one thing that struck me, which I think works for where the finale goes, when we start that scene, Reva says, we intercepted a call last year about this path and we didn't believe it. And what I love is there's clearly a history here. She has not maybe we know we're going to find out. I mean, we're still all convinced she's the youngling. She's one of the younglings in the opening scene of part one. Yeah, which is, as every week goes by, it's more and more obvious. But what I find very fascinating is what else is going to happen with her history with the Jedi, why she hates them. And what I find interesting with Leia says, she kept saying that these are all the people who wouldn't come and help you. And as we're getting these sort of hints about what's to come, what we may find out, it's been really interesting. So the one slight worry I had last week was Reva would tell Leia everything about her past because she was a kid when something happened. And it's a very standard trope that they talk to younger people and it's the kid that will get them to turn. I'm glad we got none of that. I'm glad that Reva's I'm just going to send you to the torture chamber. And by the way, very Batman-esque from Obi-Wan Kenobi today, we must add, in the shadows, because that's something we've not had much in Star Wars at all. Certainly Jedi-wise, maybe I'm thinking the duel on Geonosis, if you've been allowed to count that. But this is the most OC style thing you're going to get. People are talking on Twitter about how blue the lightsaber is for Kenobi. And it's a very weird thing to talk about because it is the same color. It's just more the environment and modern filmmaking. But just talking some more of the Kenobi stuff, the breakout and the corridor sequences, I guess we could talk about. I tweeted a GIF a few hours after, and it's the Matrix when he says he's beginning to believe again. That was me watching Obi-Wan this episode. He was defending with the lightsaber, the stances, the deflections. He's not perfect yet. Practicing with the Force again, using it to his advantage. It's a really fascinating story angle we're going with him. And I think that was the best gift that I could find that sums up the moment.
We need to get him back there so that we have the last time we met, I was but the learner, now I am the master line. Because Vader owned Kenobi last week. There's no two ways about it. He had his complete way with him. And that's not how it goes in terms of that line wouldn't have been said otherwise. And that's one thing you have to the writers have to take into account with what we've already got, especially considering episode 4 is Star Wars. That is the ultimate canon. That is the ultimate thing. Everything
start point
comes off. It is, It is the nexus of all Star Wars. So you have to bear that in mind. And this duel that we'll have coming is going to be the ultimate antithesis of that. you have to have him coming back. You have to have him rediscovering these powers. So don't forget, Luke shut himself off from the Force as well. It's like kind of poetry. It rhymes. Is Obi-Wan opening himself back up, and he's trying to connect with Qui-Gon, but he can't do that unless again he's fully open to the Force.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Sorry, I had to really reply to this message. We have Dave in the comments as well. So just in regards to the Luke stuff, because this is the big comparison I made, and I've had a lot of really interesting discussions. Actually, there are some people that haven't took to the series, which I understand, and these are people having genuine discussions. It's always very intriguing for me, and I've been quite sort of not vocal in my admiration, but the way I feel about Kenobi now is I think this has been one of the best character pieces in all of Star Wars, and I'm not going to hide from anything else. Purely on the basis that it's a drama, it's 6 episodes. No other character has had that. I don't really count the Mandalorian because he's new. No other like pre-existing character, Boba Fett to a point, has had that. Let's tell this tale of them. We've already seen them across multiple trilogies, And what's fascinating with the whole concept of the premise of the series, some people said, "Oh, Obi-Wan, Leia, and Vader will survive." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, dickheads. Of course they're going to survive. There's nothing wrong with that." What works for this series and for this show, and this should be a lesson to people that do shows like this, when you know they are safe, i.e. in terms of being dead or alive, it's the journey you do in the middle. It's with the story you put them through. And what fascinates me with Kenobi is you look at him in episode 3, he is like the golden boy. He is like the Jedi. He's like the bright light. And look at him in episode 4 and he's the old wise man. And so we're going to go in the middle between films. And we need to have not just the story, what made him leave the planet. That's part 1. That's the plot of the series.
Yeah.
But the plot is different to the story. This is telling the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi returning essentially as to being the Jedi, to believing in the Force. And this is what's made this series so important to me, is that it's the character progression. And we've not had that in Star Wars. And again, it's because this is an individual show for this one character who is pre-existing. And having these moments of, even him at the start, he's just practicing like a random metal thing. It's really interesting to see where he's coming. And as you said, the end game has to be him not just beating Vader. He needs to humble him. Because, we'll get to Vader in a bit with how he was. Literally 30 seconds of screen time saying stole the episode as far as I'm concerned. He is unhinged. Yeah. He is not a master of evil, as Obi-Wan would put it at some point. We need to see his humbling from being this aggressive, psycho, to being the calm, composed, dark side guy. We know he is essentially by the time 4 comes. So he's got his own character arc to go with Obi-Wan's. Yeah. And this has been what's interesting for me, is seeing their stories and how they're coming together. Just got a couple of comments. So, hoping we get a good backstory for Reva. Time is ticking though. Is there going to be season 2 to discuss? I think we're going to be one season and done. And I'm going to say this genuinely where I stand on this. And I think I tweeted this a few weeks ago. I never thought a day would, literally asked me 5 6 years ago, we'd get a Ewan McGregor Star Wars film. I didn't think that would ever happen. I didn't think we'd ever get him back. I think with the abuse he and many others had for the prequels, apparently that didn't happen now, according to some people, which is mental. Try to turn it to Ahmed Best, who almost committed suicide, by the way, pre-social media. The fact we're getting a 6-episode show, he did a joke saying he loved to do more. He did you saw the celebration clip films. He says, I hope you'll enjoy episodes 1, 2, 3, and someone goes 7, 8, and 9 and 10, and he said it too. It was a joke. There were rumors circling there might be a season 2. I'm just going to say I don't believe that at all. I don't think there's another story to tell. I think with the character arc we're going to leave him is going to be that. Whether they want to explore this era, this midway point between 3 and 4, I'm all for exploring the era with different characters, with Fallen Order Survivor set in the same year. There's a lot of things they can do with the era, but I don't think we'll get a season 2. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want a season 2.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I would love to have, just this. It's a one and done, and it's this great character piece. And how do you sort of stand in a similar way to that?
Leave them wanting more is a phrase that is going around in my head. The problem is, though, I am also that Star Wars crackhead that wants everything that I can get my hands on, and of course I want more. But I would rather be left watching. I know that's the thing I've got.
You get the comics out, mate. The comic was sold out. I was in Forbidden Planet in London, and couldn't get it anywhere. And I thought, you know what, I might just wait till all of them are out, or see if I can get one off eBay.
If you asked me, I would have been able to hook you up. You know I can. It's what I do. I have a load of them. And I have variant editions for Obi-Wan as well. The fact that Ewan McGregor's doing a private signing, I'm very tempted to be able to send one of mine off to then add to the collection. But that's a different point entirely. I'm like, I've never shied away from it. It's what I adore, it's what I buy, it's what I do. I would much rather watch these 6 episodes and be left going, I wish they'd do more, than going, here's 12 episodes, I wish they had done less.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. You're bang on with that. We've got a couple of comments from Carl and Dave. We'll bring them up when we get to the Vader scene, because that is a very good conversation to have.
I can't wait for
but
that
we'll get to that. Yeah, we're gonna have a. I mean, let's talk about the corridor. I mean, do we need to talk about him force pushing and flooding? I'm not too fussed in that regard.
Can we talk about floating stormtroopers?
Yeah, that was pretty.
That's
a pretty bad way to go. Like, you see what I love though is the not just the effect of running, but when the door shuts, you're seeing the stream of water going up still alongside stormtroopers.
Yeah,
and that sounds really dumb to say physics in Star Wars. But like the logic of, and the fact they said the door won't hold, it kind of did. But
yeah, the only thing I think they should have done would be allow water to escape from it as the door's closing, because it was too dry. It felt almost a case of they shut it perfectly. It's like no. He can't outrun that much water. I mean, and that's just me nitpicking. Unless they missed one trick. I would love him to have gone full speed as in episode 1. Go bring that back. Just as a lovely little nod to episode 1, because that would have been cool. No,
it's like me playing football. I'll get one run a week before I'm gone.
Yeah.
We got now. The Revenge of the Sith novelization is great. Now, I had this as a kid, and I remember reading it, and obviously as a kid, I just absorbed it and went. There's an account on Twitter. I don't know if someone follows it. It just tweets a line of the book every so often. But it's really well written. Like, it's like inner thoughts and everything. And I just wanted to bring that. If it is that Revenge of the Sith one, Carl, drop me a message. If you do follow that account, someone I know always retweets it. It's a really cool account. But also, people go search for that one too. Yeah, with the escape thing. I mean, let's talk the other thing. I mean, it's Fifth Brother, right? Fifth Brother, played by Han from Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
How do I say this? I mean, he's had nothing to do. Which is fine, because Reva's the story, and we know he's alive until Rebels, so to me his character's pointless. You don't need to Grand Inquisitor him off for a few weeks. You know, that will have a full arc. But the weird divide between them, it was really funny that Obi-Wan just walked past him, not a sense in the world, didn't have a clue who he was, and he's got this girl hiding under his coat, and he's got the officer or after standing by him. Now, again, I don't mean to nitpick, but we know he's not very good at his job. Let's be blunt, he was pretty terrible in Rebels. And how on earth he made it to being one of the final Inquisitors, that's also a really good question. How do you feel about the whole hangar sequence? Because we know that was the official... We've now seen every shot in the trailer thanks to Reva deflecting Snowspeeder bullets. I know they've got full names, but they'll always be Snowspeeders as far as I'm concerned.
T-47s,
Yeah. I liked the escape... And I thought it was a bit low key, but obviously we got the twist with the Vader scene after, which we'll get to.
As I was watching my girlfriend, she turned around to me as we were watching, going, "It's wrong that he's using a blaster." I was trying to. It's so uncivilized, but it's that line of it. It's just
it's not fully there yet.
It's not fully there, but also it works. It serves a purpose. That's about it for me. I mean. I didn't see Clock Fifth Brother in that initial bit of the escape sequence, because of course I'm looking at this rather hilarious overcoat that's just too big. With it serves a purpose, but at this point you really have to goddamn nitpick to find a fault with the episode as a whole and the show as a whole. When you're going down to that level of just this one scene could have been a bit more, but come on.
And this is the thing, like with Kenobi, if he got the lightsaber out then, there's a duel.
Yeah.
And if you notice, we've not had Reva in lightsaber combat yet, which is very interesting for where I'm thinking about where I might go. Because, again, if I was talking about like my preseason predictions, if anything, you'd think Reva would be gone by episode 4, Vader would come in 5, and then we'd have it, which never happened, which I'm glad it didn't happen. And again, they're the writers, not me. Much better that they're involved, not me. And I find it interesting they're really holding off on him having a duel. And it does make me think, is Reva going to fight Vader? She's going to fight Kenobi? She's going to fight the Grand Inquisitor? because she is going to have a duel at some point. I'm sure of it. But what I loved was I think you should be able to do some Fallen Order when they just like turn the bomb on and just force throw it at the snow speeder. Now I'm going to say this isn't really an issue of the episode. I did not care who that pilot was. I did not care about his girlfriend or whoever it was meant to be, looking sad and glum. I didn't care. And it was really weird we got given this narrative of the two of them anyway. Maybe that'll have a payoff down the line. Again, I'm pretty patient with stuff like this. But I did think some of it looked a bit off on that scene. But is that seeing snow speeders as CGI for the first time, or is it the ultimate reality? At the end of the day, it's still a TV budget, and everything else has looked pretty great as far as
I think it's we've come to
CGI on the snow looks a bit off. That was my complaint. So with the hovering shooting Reva, I think that's the combo of having the CGI next to the actor doing practical stuff.
When everything is so highly done, it does look a little off. But again, it's down to that level of nitpicking. I'd love that. I actually we glossed over at the beginning. I just quite like having O'Shea Jackson.
Ice Cube's son in it.
Yeah, O'Shea Jackson Jr.
I guess we can say he's not Quinlan Ross after all.
No, but
did you know about that theory?
Yes, I did. But I'm like, I don't.
I'm fine. I'm not fine.
Yeah.
And to be fair to him, where his tweet came from defending Moses Ingram, I mean, again, it's a horrible subject. When he tweeted saying, "Wait till you all see who I play," I don't think he ever meant that in terms of a story point. But I think a lot of people read it as that. I read it as that. But I think he just meant the fact he's playing a character in Star Wars. And I mean, if anyone's seen Straight Outta Compton, it's one of the best biopics I've ever seen. Certainly the best.
And
biopic of the last 10 years.
Yeah,
and it's like looking at his dad.
Finish. Yeah,
it's like looking at his dad. It's like we've got Ice Cube in Star Wars. Like, give the man a gun or a lightsaber. I'm joking, but no, just that whole stuff. I'm excited with him. I think that's every character that's been built that we've now met. Obviously, he's clearly going to be around for the next episode or two as well, so we might get a bit more from him. Or maybe he was the Jedi all along, and his wife was an innocent one that killed herself so he could live. Who knows? I've just thought of that on the spot, by the way. But no, let's. I mean, should we just get to the real moment? They fly off alive. Reva's left there, almost like Darth Maul in episode 1 when the ship flies off Tatooine. And then this is one of my favorite, probably ever Vader moments. It's like 3 seconds. He is angry walking. He is not calm. His shoulders are flying. And it's like 3 seconds, but the fact we get the breathing still on that shot, we know she's toast. And the way he I've got it as an alternate thumbnail. I was gonna bring up actually on the stream. But the way he just throws her up in the air, no hesitation, no nothing. We know that Vader is relentless now. We know that he is not, off the out of control, but we know how much Kenobi means to him, and the fact they've lost him. And he said, I will kill him. He would have killed her, but she has set a trap. Sorry, here's the alternate thumbnail design. It's just too hard to see the hands. I didn't run with it properly, but he does not care. He was going straight for the killing. Do you know what the best moment that scene was for me? The moment Vader comes in and is force choking her in midair, the fifth brother shits himself.
Yep.
And that, it's like Batman Begins. It's like, that's fear you can't buy. Like, you talk, because I love that moment.
So for me, go to episode 5. If you look at the pre-special edition version, you have Vader go, prepare my ship for my arrival, in a properly pissed off, we've lost them, I need to find their moment. And then it gets re-edited into the inform my ship of my arrival, we'll hunt them down, wherever it is. If they change it, it kind of loses a little bit of this. Before I get into what he does, the power walk, the David Prowse Vader power walk that Hayden Christensen has got down to an absolute T is perfect. It is so imposing that it is Fifth Brother did shit himself, because as soon as he walks into the room, it still will happen. Vader is pissed.
She was up in the air. Before he even got in the room. Like, he was not waiting around.
No, and he just was on it like it is. Oh, it is Vader how I've always envisioned him. I spoke about this earlier. It's the fact that in 4, 5, and 6, you have the end of the line calm-ish, but you know there's more there, Vader. This is Vader at peak
He's a dad.
Vader. This
He's
is
a dad in that point.
Yeah, this is. I am pissed at the Emperor for basically debilitating me for the last 10 years, taking away my abilities, putting me under boot. I am not what I should have been. He's pissed at Kenobi for leaving him how he was. Now he knows he's alive. He wants nothing more than to kill him. So he wants his revenge. The fact that he's now slipped away, he is ridiculously pissed off. So you have Vader basically just completely and utterly. That is the most angry you're going to see him. And it's just perfectly played out. James Earl Jones back as Vader is something that I always relish. But the combination between James Earl Jones doing the voice, Hayden Christensen doing the body, and the combination of the two as peak pissed off Vader is just everything I've ever wanted.
What we can say now that from last week, so we had me and David the chat with Sam. It's now been confirmed that it's the AI company that did Luke is doing the voice. Now we did speak about. I mean, James Earl Jones is 91. He should have a happy retirement. So we now know it's the AI doing it, which I've not got a problem with, as long as you have the actor approval. And the Hayden's was interesting. So what's now come out is that Hayden is playing Vader in every single shot that will be a close-up or a medium shot. But at any point you see Vader in this series with other characters now, it's one of the other actors in a suit, which is quite interesting because, again, I don't mind it because we know that Hayden's not, like 7 foot or whatever he needs to be. But knowing that Hayden is in there at times, and again, these other guys are filling in when they need to do it, it reminds me of Mandalorian that it's like so fluent. I think that's a really good point from Celebration this year as well, is that, Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder are the two other Mandos that we all know do the Mandalorian with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
But like as you said with Dave Prowse was as integral to Vader as James Earl Jones in the early days, and it's great that the others are getting some recognition now, but
well, that's the thing. Even with the AI voice, it's still the actor recording. They just then age it and make it appropriate and kind of tweak it to what it should be instead of what it is.
Yes and no. So Val Kilmer in the new Top Gun is no dialogue, no nothing of him. It's all in a computer. Luke in Book of Boba wasn't Hamill, all in the computer, and we think it's the same as Vader. To my knowledge, James Earl Jones hasn't recorded a single line. However, people are starting to clue that they reckon they're pulling some lines from when he says last week, "I am what you made me." Everyone's clocked that "I am" is the same from "I am your father." But yeah, what I'm just waiting for is the gallery, because that's going to be a mega moment, the whole Vader stuff, and I think they'll lift the lid on it properly, no pun intended. But just really quickly from Dave, but I saw how easy it was for Vader to overpower like Shinufit, and that's the way he just she's flung in the air, and this is what he needs to be. And at the end of the day, he rules the Inquisitors, he's their boss's boss. That's his level. That's where he's at, and he knows they're nothing to him. They are all afraid of him, and that's the one thing that I guess you could say the entire Disney era has done. Vader is terrifying for the. I'm going to not be rude and say for the first time, but he was terrifying when the original films came out. But cinema and audiences were different in the 70s and 80s compared to now. They've been able to reinvent that with him in a more modern technique of him being terrifying. It's working. And then I'm going to really quickly bring up Carl's comment from earlier. Do we feel Vader went soft on Reva? I thought this might be her end of that moment with 2 episodes to go, desperate for more Hayden. This is a really interesting one, Carl. So I'm in the same as Dave below. I thought she was gone until we got the tracker. Now, I didn't want her to go this episode. I've actually really enjoyed the performance. And again, I want to know her story, what's happened. I don't need a series. I don't need a comic or a book. I want to see what happened after the Order 66 opening scene, because there's a story to tell, certainly. And I think we're going to get it at some point. But same as you, I think we're going to get more Hayden. We'll go into in a bit some of our predictions for next week, or where we think the series might go. But I don't think she's going to make it past episode 6.
No,
maybe not past 5, but 100% 6. But as long as we get that story, but yeah, it's a very good question. But again, it's just that pure anger at knowing they've let Kenobi slip.
So I reckon you'll get it in 5, and I reckon it'll be 5 will be Reva's moment, which is the "you made me how I am. This is what I was. This is where I am now." Obi-Wan will kill her out of protecting Leia, most likely. And then you'll have 6, which is Vader and the Grand Inquisitor hunting down Obi-Wan. And then you'll get
See,
the ending there.
I think we're going to get. I think Reva's going to go at the hands of the Inquisitor or Vader, because I don't
Yeah.
think Kenobi would want to kill anyone, and that's my only thing at the moment. And I guess it's like Rebels, right? He was never intending to kill Maul until Maul clocked it was Luke. Rebels, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And this is where, and this has been my logic. If Reva was to find out who Leia is, she knows who Anakin is, and this is the big thing. We haven't had it confirmed. If Anakin knows if Anakin knows that Reva knows, does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. Well, it's one of those things of I'm trying actually even not to look too far. I'm interested to be surprised as to how they do it, but I don't think she's not gonna live past 6. That's for sure. Whether she dies in 5 or 6, she might get maimed by the hands of Obi-Wan and Vader finishes the job, or the Grand Inquisitor finishes the job. You might get something like that where it's like you had in episode 4 of this, or so episode 3, sorry, which was the line of you should kill me when you had the chance. It's Obi-Wan going soft, and it's Obi-Wan being a Jedi and taking the higher ground, pun fully intended. He'll do exactly the same thing here, and then you'll have Vader or the Inquisitor going, you have failed. Done.
I think she'll put up a fight. I think as long as we can at least see her in combat or something. But yeah, the Grand Inquisitor is going to come back, and I really hope when he does, it's not like end of episode 5, the Grand Inquisitor wakes up. Like, just bring him in, get him in. And where I think actually we're looking ahead to where it goes, because we know that Lola's got the red eye, she is the tracker, which I think is great. On the rewatch, you can actually see
her fiddling and hear it as well,
mechanics.
actually. You can hear the moment it goes click as she inserts the tracker.
Yeah, and it's a really well done moment on the rewatch with it. And again, like, Leia's not ever going to assume because the droid's been wired up so much across the series, you forget it's not just a friend for her or whatnot. It's an actual important, well, it's a MacGuffin, isn't it? But it's a really interesting thing. And where we think we're going to go next week, and what I love of what they've done, Vader doesn't just like the fact she knows where Kenobi is. She's taking them to the path. They know this is the root of their issue. So I think we're going to get next week an intense, insane potential. Like, I mean, I'm not saying like Rebels or anything, but but in Rebels season 3 when like Thrawn goes for the base at the end, and it's just this like, here is the Empire being the Empire. I think we're going to get that for the first time in TV next week, and it's going to.
Think we'll get another Jedi back?
I think my only plausible theory for a Jedi right now is O'Shea Jackson Jr. And only because, like I said, I've just invented the theory which I said out on the spot 20 minutes ago. So, because he says he has a wife who was killed and he knows what it's like. If there's going to be a Jedi, I hope it's him. If not, I don't want anyone coming back at the last minute. Like how like Jet Lucas just jumped in and attacked in Revenge of the Sith and just died straight away. If they're going to do it, do that, because I think where we are now, it's so Kenobi orientated that it would be wrong, I think, for anyone else to turn up. Today would have been fine, episode 4 out of 6. But if you're bringing in people on 5 and 6, that's an extra person to carry a big weight. And I know a lot of people want Cal Kestis cameos. Where do you stand with that? Because with me,
none.
I think I've said this to you and Dave before. Not only do I not want him in the Kenobi series because it's not his series. His series is a game franchise, and he should be dead at the end of the new one. He should not be around. And I don't mean this in a horrible way. I really enjoy the performance. I like Cameron Monaghan. But we can't have so many people surviving Order 66.
No.
Especially, and it makes sense that some did, and they have Inquisitors. And it's like the whole Rebels thing. Kanan died. We knew that was always going to happen at some point. And he did very well as long as he did. And Ezra to disappear for the events of the original trilogy, fine. As long as by the time we get to A New Hope, Luke genuinely was the only hope left. Yeah. That's where I stand with stuff like that. And where we are sort of at the halfway point, it makes sense a couple could be alive, but the Empire squashing all of that next week would be phenomenal. And
I think it would be nice to have like Quinlan Voss just waiting at the end just to die.
I mean, if he came in for a minute, it's like, hi, I'm Quinlan Voss, and Vader just chops his head off. Everyone's just like crying, saying, Luke, you've killed one of our favourites. I'm like, he didn't really do anything though, did he? Really? I mean, I know I've not read Dark Disciple. I know he gets a yellow blade in it.
Do is a very good book.
Listen, I'm gonna get from Obi-Wan Kenobi ones first, and then then I'll see if I've got any other interest for the others. I still haven't read half the other one. I've got like the Thrawn trilogy still I've never read. As in well, there's 2 new Thrawn trilogies. The first
there
one,
is, yeah,
the first new one. But yeah, just some more stuff. I mean, we know they're gonna have the duel in probably episode 6. I'm not gonna sit and say let's predict a duel, let's predict any of that, but my sort of main prediction comes from where I think the series is going to go. Okay, I'm going to ignore Qui-Gon too. It just needs to end with Obi-Wan back on Tatooine, believing in the Force, believing in his mission, and more importantly, I hate having the cheesy term, having hope in Luke Skywalker. And to me, it's such an important part of Obi-Wan is sacrificing 19 years of his life to watch over Luke.
I think we need to have at some point by the end of episode 6, Vader to think that Kenobi is dead again.
Yes. Or at least be so humbled he's okay with it. Like he's had this insane Force thing happen that he's calm. And it's what the Tarkin conversation is in New Hope, doesn't he? He just assumes Kenobi's dead. And, Vader's words are, presence I've not felt since. Never said Mustafar, never said Quarry. It's an unknown, and what we hope is that what does come in episode 6 is going to leave us in this incredible student mass dynamic. Just a couple of quick comments. All we need is Qui-Gon. Yes, we do. We're going to get him, Matt. We're going to get him. I'm going to tell you, when Leaves turns up, that's going to be the most emotional part of the whole thing for me. Like, we've not seen Qui-Gon Jinn since 1999 in live action. I remember at the cinema as a kid. I don't know if you were the same when Revenge of the Sith came out. When Obi-Wan's, does the Qui-Gon name drop, you're expecting him to turn up and he never did. And obviously, we know it's because of the car crash, or motorbike crash, sorry. But what that horrible accident has done in real life has actually given Obi-Wan a character arc for a whole series spin-off show, which is probably like the best of a bad situation. And a comment for you, Phil. Labyrinth of Evil is a great prequel book as well. I've not heard of that, so I will need to Google that.
It's non-canonical, so it's not on my radar.
That's fine. I'll have a look, Carl. But yeah, that kind of rounds out everything I can really say on part 5. I mean, we've spoken about what we think might happen next week or the week after. We spoke about all the scenes. So just
part 4, luckily, we're still part 5 for 6 to go.
Sorry, it's gone so quick.
It has. That's because we had 1 and 2 together, and then 3 was like
3 was basically with 1 and 2.
Yeah,
it was so close, and so many people were caught off guard by the Wednesday as well because it's come out on the Friday. But yeah, so that's going to round out our review. Again, thank you to everybody in the comments today for asking us those questions. If you've got any more, chuck them through. We'll answer them before we probably finish off the socials and all of that stuff. So as always, guys, if you're watching later, you're not live, you've been checking out the live chat, comment your thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi. We do reply to all comments on the channel. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's what makes these discussions fun, is having the people to talk them with, to talk through theories. Again, you're recommending us books and stuff for us to check out. This is what works about Star Wars, it's only 2-3 weeks ago Star Wars Celebration was on, and we're very envious of everyone there. You got these magnificent stories. Obviously, we're going to be in London next year. We'll all get together. Some of you I know in the comments are off to that as well. And it's just an environment that makes it fun. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about episode 9 again, but it's a very low place for my love of Star Wars. And I took a year out, and just the last 6 weeks have been amazing. Just getting to discuss these with people. Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's just amazing. So again, thank you always for commenting with us. We love this stuff. And as I said, any book recommendations, game stuff, we like having this chat because, we all enjoy these films. We all enjoy these shows. And even if there's things we dislike about them, we're still talking about the stuff we love, and it's not just people attacking and shooting each other and misreading stuff and saying they hate X, Y, and Z company for X, Y, and Z reasons that don't make sense. So, yeah, it's been a fun discussion tonight, Phil. And I'm going to bring up our social medias again. Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, link to Redbubble in the description below. I'm actually going to order a hat this week, I think. But as we said, part 5, we're a little bit later as well now. Yes, we are. The Instagram is there as well. So you get us on Instagram. We will follow back. I'm still getting used to it. And we'll be back next week. Part 5, spoiler discussion, next Wednesday, the 15th of June. That's going to be at 8 p.m. If anyone's curious about my dedication to Kenobi, I've skipped the Elvis press screening to watch Kenobi next Wednesday. So that's all you really need to know. And we have a comment for you, Phil, as well. We've got Carl saying, good to see you again. Carl, we will have Phil back on. Trust me,
good
we
to be
will have
back.
Phil back on. And
Yeah.
Matt as well, great discussion there. Thank you for commenting along. So everybody at home, thank you again for watching, for checking this out. If you do enjoy this video, there's a lot more Star Wars stuff coming on the way, so be sure to subscribe and join us at the next one. Thanks for watching.